So here we go. Discovery learning is what I do at my school, and it's what I've always believed in doing. And when I was rereading about Piaget a few days ago, he actually called it discovery learning. I thought, dang, I thought I came up with that idea. Shoot. I just went in there one day and then it all made sense another part. So, all right, I'm going to go open this up like this. Thank you for bearing with me. So, my next teacher was Magda Gerber. I don't know how I got hooked up with her, but I went and had a 2-week intensive training on Whidbey Island with a bunch of fabulous people, and my mind was blown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I hope your mind is blown too. She studied with a woman named Emmy Pickler. After World War II, interesting enough, we already talked about after World War II. People don't really care for war after they see it. And there were a lot of orphanages. And Emmy Pickler was a pediatrician in Budapest, Hungary. And there's a phenomenon happening where these infants were being cared for. Their basic needs were being met. The food, shelter, warmth, things to play with. But they were dying. They were dying. And people were, what's happening? And so Emmy Pickler went in and said, well, how can we create an environment and routines and interactions where children will not only live, but they'll thrive? And so they created this, the Lotze Institute, and they've been studying this form of education ever since. And so they come with that basic belief that we're all sharing today, that children are born curious. They are hardwired, as Heather said several times, and compelled to interact with their environment and with the people in the environment to construct meaning for themselves. Magda said, you know, if you stuck a baby in an empty room, it would seek out a piece of lint, pick it up, look at it, probably put it in its mouth. It would explore that little piece of lint. She also taught me that, you know, they're natural scientists, and I agree with that. They learn at their own pace and on their own timeline. There is no hurry. Slow down. There's no hurry. We're talking about pushing down content, pushing down literacy skills. There's no hurry. Okay. You can't force development. So what we get to do as educators is we get to trust in this natural development. Her bend, instead of the cognitive part, she was really interested in looking at how we develop our motor skills, how the progression of rolling over, crawling, standing up, toddling, walking, running, all that stuff. And she said, you don't need to teach those skills. What? What do you mean don't need to teach those skills? She said, well, if it were true that you needed to be taught these skills, there would be a whole class of adults out there in the world that didn't learn to walk. Think about it, right? My experience with this is after the 2-week intensive training, I came back to my daycare that I was working at, and I was working with infants, one-year-olds. And when I left, there were 2 girls that were at the exact same developmental stage. They were pulling themselves up, and they were holding onto the wall, and they're kind of giggling together, like, ah, and they're having so much fun together, and then they kind of plop down, and they were right there, about 12 months old, just like Heather said on that developmental screen. And when I came back, it was a completely different scene. One girl, she was walking. She was, you know, poorly walking, but she'd take a few steps, bop down, oh, get back up, take a few more steps. She was having the time of her life. Happy, gregarious, she was owning her world. Now the other girl, she's still over here at the wall, and she's terrified. And she's not moving, she's not interacting with anybody. And I just found this very curious. And with all these things I was learning, I'm like, what is this? Oh my gosh, everything that Mom just said is true. And I asked the mom whose kid is, you know, walking, pretty much walking. I said, what happened? You know, are you been teaching her? She said, I raise horses. You know, I see it all the time. They don't need to be taught how to walk. They just figure it out and they do it. So I just leave her alone. Now, when the other parent came to pick up the daughter, they did this. Do you know what that means? It's the international symbol for I'll hold you and walk you. So the baby wanted to be walked. She wouldn't move. But when the parent came and walked the baby out of the classroom, then she was happy again because she was now dependent on that adult. I can't tell you how many layers I can unpack. And I kind of skipped forward a little bit here with my example, but that children are curious, and the other two parts that we're adding, the competent and capable. People have to learn that they're competent and capable. They don't naturally know it, but they learn by interacting with the world and figuring things out. What oftentimes we do is we're just constantly telling them how to do, how to be, what to think, what choice to make, and they never have that perception they can figure things out. So when I saw that one girl, she's like, I know how to do this. And the other girl, she was not learning anymore. She was stuck in a state of fear. She wasn't interacting with materials. She was in conversations with people. She was just waiting for her ride out of there. So in this system of learning and teaching, the role of the environment, as we already said, is the teacher. We have simple objects that can be used in multiple ways and grow with the child. This is like the best thing for infant toddlers. So we're going to put things in the library that you can have out, that kids, babies and young people can be safe with. So if I were a baby and I picked this up, I was playing with it the other day. Check out what I learned. Sorry, babe. Oh, all my examples aren't working. Slightly doing it. I can get two different tones with hitting it different ways. You can see through it. You can carry it. You can make sound with it. Of course, you can probably squish it too. Someone will figure out how to squish it. You can stick things in it. Things for young people, if they can see through it, are the best things to be using, because then they can know what's going on. They want to know exactly what's going on. I gave my son one of these when he was an infant and put a ball in there. I thought it was interesting. I had no idea how to get it out. I didn't think about it. At some point, we had to figure out how to do that. So I let them struggle. Struggling is where all the learning is. Don't show them how to do it. Don't tell them the secrets, you guys. Discovering learning is so powerful because the person who's doing the discovering owns the information. They own it to the core of their being. And it's just so much fun to watch children explore. So, how am I going to go from here? I'm going to tell you another story. Yeah, the stories are fun. So a whole bunch of, I want the infant type, containers. Anything that has to do with color, light, or motion. That's just what I've learned will sustain a child's attention. The longer a child is engaged in an activity, engaged in the process of trying to figure it out, the more learning they're going to receive from that experience. The more we interrupt them, the more we're going to stop them from learning. This is one of my favorite Magda Gerber quotes. Be careful what you teach. It might interfere with what they're learning. Magda was really cool. She didn't have an ego. She said, I don't know what these kids need to know in the future. She said, I've seen a lot of life, and I've seen a lot of change. I'm not so egotistical that I know what they're going to need. Really? Are we going to be using paper and pencil? What systems are we going to be using in the future? What skills are people going to need to have in the future? She said, I don't know, but I know one thing. We need people to think critically, to be able to solve the problems that we've been working on since the beginning. And Albert Einstein said, we can't solve the problems with the same thinking that got us into the problems. We need new ways of thinking, new ways of seeing things. So, we already talked about active, passive. Don't do any noisy toys. Just don't. I'll haunt you in your dreams. So I constantly get hand-me-downs from parents. Oh my gosh, check this out. Let's jam. Again, it's going to tell me what to do, right? It actually has quite a bit of functions. You've got like this, you got a little, I was playing like, okay, maybe I can do a little. But what happens? This is another one. Okay, my kids love Frozen. They love that theme. And I thought, this is kind of cool. They also remember this, They're always working on they're always working on spatial relationships, I swear. And I kind of want to prove that with my husband with the glasses. Look at that. Look at that. I just got distracted into something very meaningful, and now it's pulling me out. Ugh. So this one lights up too. But the weirdest thing is, I thought, oh, the kids could never like that, and they'll play a little scene in here, and it sings the song. Oh. See, I'm making my point. You're making my point. I thought, oh, they'll have so much fun. But they creepily would just push it, and then just watch. And they push it, and then they just watch. It was creepy. I'm gonna hurt this. Yeah, but we actually have a tendency to be like that for children. When they get involved in something, if we don't stop to pay attention and try and figure out what they're doing, we miss so much. We miss so much. I just love watching babies learn. You don't love watching adults not see it all the time. So you get to experiment and watch people in public, in the grocery stores. It seems like there's two kinds of groups of people that are kind of alongside with their children, talking about what they're going to cook for dinner and what kind of choices are we going to do together, or they're just barking orders. And please, if this is you, I'm not talking about anybody. I used to be that person. I used to sit down and just do what I say. I'll choose the activities, everything. So I have no judgment about where anybody is here along their learning path. I want to be clear about that. I get kind of judgmental, but I know that I get judgmental because I'm so passionate. I just want the best for kids. And I realize that we're all in the same boat, and so I'm trying to learn how to be compassionate for adults who are they want the best too, and maybe just haven't learned yet. So, a little full disclosure there. Okay, so I'm in the classroom, and we've got a water table. That's one of those kind of raised tubs with water in it, and the lining was red. And I just had thought, oh, I'm going to put red food coloring in this water, and just a bunch of cups and things for kids to play with. You must have water somehow. Find a way to have a wet place in your libraries. It could just be a tub on top of a little table. It doesn't have to be the fancy pants ones that you buy through catalogs. So this one girl picks up so got red water and a blue cup. She picks up some water and she goes, oh, I've got purple! And two other people in the vicinity are, whoa, you got purple? Wait, where'd you get purple? And she starts to go, well, over here. And so they run over their cups, and they're like, oh, it's not there anymore. Now, I had just learned, I think I'd taken a class from one of these people, and I thought, oh, don't tell them the answer, just let them figure it out. And I'm like, oh, it's killing me because it's taken them so long. And I just it's the color of the cup, you guys, and the water's red. And don't think they noticed the water was red because the table itself was red, so it was a little tricky. And it was I don't know how long they were doing this. Well, what's over here? It's over there. Well, what if it's that? What if there? And I think what happened was eventually something triggered a memory in someone's brain that said, oh yeah, colors can combine to make different colors. And it was just this oh, I got it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm so proud I didn't interrupt you. But the joy, if I would have stepped in and went, oh, that's the way it is, I would have squashed all that joy. And more importantly, I would have squashed that neuroconnector that said, you just figured it out. Here's a pathway now to figure this out. All I do every day in, day out, is try to build these connections that the child can take away from my school. These pathways are already laid that say, I'm a learner. I have a learner identity. And I have a video, hopefully the video came out. I sent it to Stacy, but I have one little video at the very end of today that is a little snippet of what I try to do and what happened right there. Okay, now I gotta see what time it is. Oh, all right. Oh, good. All right. Oh, I didn't even do that. Okay. So, let's see where we are here. All right, the role of the teacher. So we've got the environment. I just went to the role of the teacher, just like that. Look at that. Huh. Good job. All right, uninterrupted time. We did all of that. Oh, here's one. Respect. Mondo was big on respect. And I think she said the definition of respect for her meant like to look in a different way at a child. Might be the root of the word, I don't know. And we do things with and not to. So we don't stick a hat on somebody, we don't tickle people, we don't touch them or hug them without asking. We wait for a response. This is really important. With the young people, oh, hey, would you like to have this book? And then you wait for them to process that information, and they might reach out and say with their body, yeah, I'll take that book. That back and forth relationship that we were talking about earlier. So, well, here we go. Okay, we're doing it. Now, another one of my favorite teachers has been Bev Boss. She's completely not a deep thinker in the sense that I don't even think she ever went to higher education. She ran a cooperative preschool in Northern California forever and has written books and toured and did workshops. And she passed away a few years ago. And I just love her because she's feisty. She's feisty. She says that experience is not the best teacher, it's the only teacher. So without further ado, I would like you to pick up the pretend apple. Pick up, we're gonna go, there are real apples. You have 1 or 2 real apples on your table. I need somebody who likes to write on a piece of paper. Smooth. Cold, yeah. Firm. Shiny.
Wet.
Red. Mushy.
Wet.
Mushy. Wet. Heavy. Oh, yeah. Different properties. Lopsided. Spotted. Come on, guys. Round. Stem. Light. Slippery. All right, some more. Come on, Pete. No English majors in here? I hear my English teacher like vigorous verbs and juicy adjectives. Juicy, there you go. What? Oxidized. A little brown. Oh, we're not doing the fake one yet. Just the real ones. We're going to do fake next.
Take like that.
Light. All right, well, for sake of argument, it looks like we've got enough going here. Okay, so now we're going to put that down. I want you to pick up and pass around the pretend apple. And I want you to... Wait a minute, hold on a second. What we're going to do, if the word is already up here, we're going to circle it. Okay. Red. So if there's red, circle it, please.
Hollow. Light.
Hollow, light, small.
Disappointing.
Did you get a small one?
Ours rattles.
With what?
Rattles.
Rattles. Sticky.
Light.
Oh, yeah, that's that weird one.
Green.
Green. Did you say special?
Speckle.
Speckle. What does it mean? Fake. Okay. Now, we're going to go to another apple. All right, now we're going to go this apple. That is double. I got red, round, brown, and smooth. dry, that's, I don't know if you experience dry, I don't know. I shouldn't say no to your perception, sorry. Okay, ready? Now what can you say about this apple?
Red. Colorless.
Is there anything on the list that you can say red? So cross out everything on the list except for red and green. Do we have red and green both? I heard hand drawn.
You want us to cross out?
Yeah, cross everything out except for red, green, and hand drawn. Marker. Now when you think about stem, yep, that's stem, yep, got a little bit. Okay, you ready? All right. Now what can you tell me about an apple from this apple?
Black.
Dun dun dun.
It has 5 letters and 2 syllables.
It does, and it has nothing to do with apple. Are you feeling what I'm wanting to share with you? It's the experience first. The language follows the experience. I think we're in such a hurry for our kids to develop and be successful adults and be competitive with the neighbors and whatnot that we forget just to slow down and experience. Everything else is just words to attach to the experiences too. That boss would say, you know, I give the kids sand and water, and they a lot of it, and they know after a little bit of time with that material what erosion really is. They know that water can be more powerful than earth. They know it in their bones. So they're maybe in 3rd grade, they're doing a unit, and they got the book out, and there's talk about erosion as a science fact. They know it. Okay. This is Benny, by the way. He's my emotional support dinosaur. If you don't feel comfortable with puppets, I don't know, you've probably been told that puppets are the bomb. Kids will talk to the puppet, will listen to the puppet, will do whatever the puppet says, and they'll completely ignore you. I have evolved. You don't even have to use puppets. You want to talk to Benny? Hey, how you doing? It's me, everybody! When I went to Romania, I left my students with a teacher, and Benny went with me, and Benny was the one that would talk to the kids because the kids were not very happy with me being gone. And this was our way of connecting. They would talk to Benny and tell him all about everything. And with me, they were very odd with. So Benny is my emotional support dinosaur. You can have one too if you want. All right. You stand up too. Stand up. I gotta like shake a little bit. Shake it, shake it. All right, so we just did some discovery learning. We got the apple thing. That bus says if it hasn't been in the hand or the heart, meaning if they haven't gotten to touch it and they don't have some kind of emotional connection to it, it'll never be in the head. Let's see here. Ooh, we're doing good. I might have gone too fast. All right, no, this will be good. Okay, I had a student about a month ago during lunch when most of the kids were finished and we were left together. Great conversations at lunchtime. He said, Miss Leeanne, my brother tells me all the secrets and I don't like it. I was like, oh, tell me more. Tell me more. My whole being was perked up. What does this mean? And he continued to explain to me that his older brother's going to school across the street, and he comes home and he tells this boy all of the secrets. He's not giving him the opportunity to get to school and then to discover or at least learn those things on his own. And he was just really heavy with, it's not fair. And I thought, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think you should own the secrets too. So I'm going to, I think we'll go into play. So on your table, everybody has something. Oh, I can walk around with this. If anybody wants to look at, if you're super curious about infant toddler stuff, I've got this here you can come explore. In your book, the Loose Part book, I saw some of my materials. Oh my gosh, I just got more of these. They're rollers, they're curvers, and they work by just kind of Velcroing to your hair. I suggest you don't use them for your hair because I did, and I lost some hair doing that, so don't do it. But they stick to each other, They stick to other things. Oh, there's different sizes that fit into each other, and it's in that book. I meant to do that. Not really. So, okay. Play. We've got magnets. This is magnetic, that's magnetic. That's usually our cleanup whistle. Kids respond to sound cues. We've recently started a quiet for 5 minutes at the beginning of lunchtime because I need some quiet every day. And now I don't set the alarm because now they're like Pavlov's dogs. They just are quiet when we start eating, and they're usually quiet, whisper, conversational quiet, not wah! All right. I'm thinking. We have 30 minutes left. I want to blah, blah, blah at you for a few more minutes, and then I want to have conversations because I think that's where the juicy stuff happens. So.
I think that we're having a little trouble hearing.
Oh, thank you. I forgot about that. Okay. The magic microphone. All right. We're almost done. I'm almost done. I'm curious about what you've experienced, but I want to stay focused because I just want to make sure I get everything out. I want to tell you about a study. I found myself showing you guys what to do. Let's stop it. Let them discover. There was a study years and years ago. I don't remember who or where, but the results were true because I've experienced it since. A teacher had a class, preschool teacher, divided the class in half, took the class in separate. The first group of people, she took an object. I like to fancy it's like one of those bop-its, but it was before bop-its, where you push something and it did something, you twisted it, it did something. It had a action-reaction thing. And she took it to the kids and she said, look what I got this new toy. It can do this when you do that, and this happens when you do that, and this happens when you do that. Go ahead and enjoy that and have fun. And the children played with the toy, they copied what she did, and when that was all over with, they left the toy and went on to something else. The second group of students, the same toy, same teacher, and she said, hey, you guys, I found this new toy. And then she kind of accidentally made it do something. And she's like, whoa, what was that? That's interesting. And then she just left the toy with the children. Now the researchers are watching the children after she leaves the room. And they found out not only the other two things that the teacher had taught the other group, but they found out a whole bunch of other things that it could do because they weren't limited by the adults teaching them how it worked. When school started in September, a very excited mom grabbed a couple of my blocks. We're outside and I have these big, kind of look like castle blocks, walls and a door, but you could do whatever you want to with them. But she said, hey kids, look what I can do. You can make a castle with this. And she put 4 walls together, or 3 walls and the door, and walked away. And I'm thinking, So the kids every now and then would make that box. They never would play with it. They never did anything new with it. I kind of wanted to throw it away because it was ruined to me. It was just a piece of junk because the kids couldn't use it. I'm saving it though for the next batch of kids that won't think it's just to make a square house with. Alrighty. Okay, materials that you didn't see. And I really want to push recycled and reused and thrift stores and families. Get your families to help you donate equipment. Help you build that loft. That's something that I don't have in my speech intentionally, but poor camera's trying to follow me. But how can you build community in your libraries? I was thinking somehow you can get the children either to do a piece of art, to scribble down, to write their name, maybe put on the wall somewhere where they can come to that library and a piece of them is still there. I don't know. I know you guys are creative and you can think of some way of including them in your space. Neighbors, yard sale, just this industrial strength serving bowl. I paid $1 for it, and you can stand on it, you can sit in it, you can, one of my students likes to put all of the pretend food in there and make a batch of some soup for everybody. Awesome for younger people too. They got the texture, I mean, ta-da! What else do I want to show you? I think that's okay. I also have a bag, and maybe we could play with these tomorrow. I think if it's okay, I'll put some on the table, but I call these my hand toys. Just all sorts of things that you can touch and manipulate. We oftentimes bring them out when it's quiet time, so kids have something to do. When you play, don't stick your fingers in here. That's one of the only things I ever tell. Don't stick your fingers, Chinese finger trap, and you'll break it. And don't put your face over it. Somebody got right in their eyeball one time. So here's some fun things you can play with. And let's see. Boxes. It's not a joke, you guys. You should have boxes in your spaces all the time. All the time. Get those refrigerator boxes. Yeah. Okay. If you don't feel musical, this is one of the easiest instruments to play, the auto harp. And it's beautiful sounding. I had it tuned just for you. Let's see, I think it goes this way. It's just chords, you just push a chord. I've trained the kids, you have to push a chord button or you get dissonance. I don't like that at all. So here we're teaching, we've got letter recognition, we've got major versus minor. I love playing this game. Once upon a time, we went for a walk, and I'll say all the kids' names, and we went out, it was such a beautiful day. But then, the sky turned dark, and the wind started to blow. We were feeling a little scared, and I kind of read the crowd, they're getting a little scared, like, but then the sun broke through, Usually something bad happens, and then we figure out how to work out together, and it's just kind of a fun thing to do. Okay. Oh my gosh, the slides. I've never done this before. Okay, slides. Now, I've got my little, ooh. So here are pictures and videos from my students in my school. I wish I had spent more time doing this because I think it would have been important, but just some ideas and some things I didn't want to forget that I may have overlooked. All right, okay, so case in point. New student comes in, obsessed with writing E. Not even the letter that her name begins with, but for some reason she wants to write an E. And you can see all these attempts to write the E. And then where is it? Oh, it looks like it got cut off. Well, anyway, in the original, there is an E with like 4 lines coming out. And her mom was sitting at the art table with us, and she was really excited about her 3-year-old learning to write an E. And I said, why are you excited about that? And she said, well, it's nice to know that she's learning and growing. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, I'm concerned about this because this is not where she should be learning. This is not the growth that she needs to be having right now. She needs all of those foundational things. There's no problem-solving muscle yet. So you saw the little boy squishing. That's some silicone ice cube maker, not cube, ice ball maker. And so we put color in the water and froze them and took them outside. And so this is what she did. Very elaborate, checking out, just watching the water melt, the color melt. The grain of the wood was really interesting for the kids to push over time, and then you can see on the other side that it's creating this texture from the grain. Again, you have stuff you guys can do outside because you don't want to do this in the library. I just thought that was fun, just watch them melt. And then there's her product, but it's really just a sample of where she is developing. That makes me happy. That took a lot of time. That was all on her. The E will come. It takes very little time to teach someone how to read and write once they are ready to. All right. Oh, the jewel collection. That's really fun. They drew pictures. This is one of the things that we do when people make creations that are temporary, that you can adopt. Everybody has a name card, and that just means I'm saving this until I'm gone, and then you can destroy it or use it for something else. One of the things I have in the baby stuff is these more ice cube. They freeze them, and they're ice cubes, plastic ice cubes, and they just sorted them out with the washcloths. We have washcloths in the rainbow color. They use them for so many different things. The squigs, which people said that they have played with, expensive but super cool. They work in the water. They work on the windows, doors, anything slick and slippery. I've had kids pick up or try to pick up our stools with them. Oh, also plungers make great toys too. I usually write toy on the plunger so it doesn't freak out the other adults, but they'll plunge surfaces. You can use them as paint things. The kids will put them on there. They put them on their bellies and have little like plunger wars. Those are called, I think, double plus or plus plus. We call them H's. Don't buy the big ones. They're nearly impossible to take apart when they do 3D building. They'll hurt you. Don't do it. But those are cool. And just multiple ways of using them. You can be bending round structures with them. Games. And games. You have a game center. So much learning. Turn taking. One-to-one correspondence. You only get to move it one for every color. Positions. First, middle, last. It's just. Again, you could probably just do everything in the form of a game. Oh, and this is one of our favorite ones is the 3 cups and the ball. You try to find it. Hours. We could spend all day doing it, and we add more cups, and the kids will create their own game. Like maybe find the one that doesn't have a ball in it. And then those geo boards. I'm sure you guys are aware of those. I just thought I got somebody who's just mad about symmetry and being super creative, and I just thought. Can do that forever. And I let the kids, they'll get creative and we'll have multiple boards, and then they'll connect all the boards together. Again, a spin art, anything that moves, they'll be at it forever. You can paint it, you can use marker, you can use pipettes, talk about centrifugal force. Those are in the middle, that's Benny painting Buddha boards. I don't know what the material is, it's some kind of paper. And you draw on it with water. It's a very nice paintbrush. And then it evaporates while you just sit there and watch it. I have 3 of them, and they just go back and forth. Oh, cornstarch and water. I actually brought some, but we didn't get that far. How many have played with cornstarch and water? Okay, if I ever get to come back again, you're all going to raise your hands. This is one of the coolest substances on Earth. It's called a non-Newtonian substance. It means it's I don't know if it's not a solid or a liquid, or it's a solid and a liquid at the same time. Yeah, it's a solid and a liquid at the same time. So you can punch it, just water and cornstarch, and it will like kind of ripple, and it's hard as a rock. It doesn't stick to you. But you put your hand on it, and it oozes in there. It never dissolves. So you leave it alone for an hour or so, and then all the liquid will rise to the top. It's so cool. At the end of the day, we pour out the liquid, it dries up. In the morning, it looks like a desert. It's all cracked, and it's a new texture. And then we can play with that. And then we can add more water again. And then we add color to it. The color is really cool because the color also doesn't really mix together, and it just does really amazing things. Oh, and we also use squirt bottles of colored water so that kids can mix the colors in any way they want to. I need more of the powder stuff. Okay, here's more powder. Let's keep going. I always have to stop that activity. It's an activity they just will do forever. You guys better have a light, like an overhead projector. Seek the university surplus sales or the whatever, thrift stores. You can't quite see. They can draw on it and draw on the wall. The magnetic blocks, the magnetic tiles you see over there, you've got to have those. Find a way to get them. They're expensive, but get a whole bunch of them. Every year, the kids learn new ways of using them, and they blow my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, nobody's ever done that before. How did you do that? Or how did somebody come up with such a clever toy? So it can change colors. Again, we put objects on there and then we trace around it on the wall. I think real artists actually do that. A friend of mine does that. Music, you gotta have music everywhere. This is a $35 fun machine from Goodwill. Anything to balance on. This is to remind me, behind that red curtain there's a little cozy nook. There's the blue drum. I have new students coming in, so I took out the more adult type stuff for the 3-year-olds, and we have a little kid-sized drum kit. Grandpa Mike made the balancing beam there. I'm going to run out of time. We mentioned it, and I want to punch this one. Kids need to experience risk-taking. Huge correlation between risk-taking and literacy development. And that can sound kind of cool, but I experienced it. And safe risks, not crazy risks, but the illusion of risk, like that. She's not going to hurt herself if she falls down, but she's going to feel a fall. I had a little girl, wouldn't draw. All of her friends at the art table every day drawing houses and people and flowers and dogs and ponies and blah, blah, blah. She wouldn't touch a pencil or paper, wouldn't touch pencil, crayon, marker, anything. And in my classroom, I was just watching that, thinking, what's stopping her from doing that? Just wondering. And I brought into the classroom this big blue foam wedge. And the kids, and mats around it, and the kids were climbing up it and jumping off the top. I thought they'd climb up and slide, but no, they want to climb up and jump. And she's not having anything to do with it. But she's looking curious, like she wants to. And I said, hey, if I tell everyone they can't be on there at the same time, because it was wobbly, would you try it? Yeah, I'll try it. I'm like, okay, I want you to have that opportunity. I can tell it's just a little overwhelming for you. She's a very small, petite person. She gets up there. She kind of toddles. She gets to the top. We're all like, our breath is, and she jumps off. And she's safe and successful, and she lands on her feet. And I kid you not, I S-word you not, that same day, she went to the art table and started drawing. I saw that she just needed to have a little bit of confidence in her ability. And that one experience unlocked her fear of taking a risk and failing, because she just took a risk and she didn't fail. And we were all kind of like there celebrating that with her, you know? We're all together in this. Okay. I've never taught time before. I found this clock at the thrift store and it didn't have the numbers in the way I wanted it to. And so we took it apart and the kids and I created new numbers. And now they have this kind of, in the second hand, the middle, the minute, hour, they have a kind of a concept. And most things happen at school on the 6th. You know, 8:30, lunch, going home. So like, it's almost on the 6th. It's crazy. I'm watching them do things I never thought they could do. Again, gross motor. I have a mattress. I've got mats. That cylinder, again, at the Goodwill store. Someone calls it a cat wheel. So they pretend to be cats. And they move on it. Inside's hauled on the inside. Just another, that last slide, went out and bought 3 scooters, brought them to school, stuck them out in the playground and didn't say a word. And those 3 girls made a beeline for them and they figured out how to open the packages. And except for like one little scaffolding, they put all of those together themselves. And they were just so focused and so determined. I'm like, oh, girl power, girl, you show everybody how we do it. One of these things is not like the other. Guys, Sesame Street, remember that game? Could do this again and again forever. So much fun. I divide it in force and I model a few ways of doing it. I think maybe 3 different ways of how you can make a set and then something that doesn't fit. And then I just hand it over to the kids. And it's a great conversation because oftentimes there's multiple things that would make something fit or not. How is it like? How is it different? And this is great because this is the boy who doesn't really talk yet. His tongue is just really slow to move, and he's just challenged in that way. He's getting it. But I gave him a turn, not knowing if he would know what to do or not. And this was his, and so then he says to the kids, you know, what doesn't fit? And we're like, oh, well, it could be that these are closed circles and this one's open, possible. It could be, I don't know, these are kind of messy and those are clean. It could be small and large. We're like, we don't know. We couldn't come to a consensus. So what's the answer? And I was so proud of him because he was leading And we were we're in the context here. He's talking and he says, well, that one's purple. You know, I'm like, oh, those are the same because they're all pink and that one's different because it's purple. And he's like, yeah. And so I get really teary-eyed. So now it's her turn, right? And she's erasing it. But right before I took this picture, I have another one where he's hugging Charlie. He goes over and says, I love you. Because for once, because if I'm leading, he can't quite follow what's happening or communicate to us and to become, you know, with the group. But in that moment, letting him lead, he was part of the group. I'm getting teary-eyed. All right. We're not talking, are we? Have 5 more minutes. What do you want to do? Tell me something you learned. Something that struck you as, yeah, I'm gonna take that back with me. My life is better now. I need a little reinforcement here. It's your turn. Are you raising your hand? Okay. Go.
These things are so simple. They don't need to cost a lot of money.
Yes, yes.
Just simple.
Yes,
And the kids
yes,
love them.
yes. In fact, the ones that cost a lot of money oftentimes aren't the ones that the kids will want to play with. Anybody else?
We just got RFID panels in our library, and so we have these huge boxes that are flat, and I'm like so excited to stick a page on them and run a marble through them. Because I think
Yeah.
we'll have so much fun with it,
Yes.
so.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I love the idea that you put out these new products and have the kids put them together. Yeah. You know how old I said that my daughters are. My older two, a couple of years ago, I gave them IKEA beds. It was a couple $100 a piece, so I felt a little certain way, but they put it together and they were so chuffed. They're like,
Yes.
and I can't take away that power from them. And it was just allowing them to put it together themselves.
Yes. Somebody said recently, I don't know who, what we love in childhood, we never forget. Anybody else? Do.
One thing I found myself saying, especially when we did STEM stuff, was, if you don't know how to use something, let me know and I'll show you. And now I'm going to say, if you don't know how to use something, experiment till you figure it out.
Yeah. I wonder how you're going to figure that out. Yeah, I'll be curious how you solve that problem. I don't even know if I finished the end. I'm losing it. Oh, and you wanted to say something? Oh, that was it. Awesome.
I start the story time with open play time to get the kids to just play, and I've been thinking I want to switch out some of the toys. I'm like, I pull the same ones out, food and blocks every time. I'm like, I need to get some new stuff. And now I'm looking around going, I have new stuff. It's pom-poms and little balloons and things like that. It doesn't have to be new toys. It can just be new stuff, and let them make the play with it.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to see what you do. And be warned that you might have to set some activities up to give them some ideas. You guys, COVID has messed with our children. We had a potty party for one of our students. When somebody decides to lose the pull-ups, we celebrate and have a potty party. So it's like, diaper science, like how much liquid will this diaper hold before it leaks? And we play with toilet paper. Like the whole room will be covered with toilet paper. Where is Anne? I think that lump is Anne. Or, oh, you're a mummy. Like super, super fun. I brought out 12 rolls of paper for our potty party. One person cut some out and glued it onto a piece of paper. And I thought, I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to experiment. Because honestly, it's a huge mess to clean up and a little wasteful, but we try to use the leftovers in other ways. All day long, they just sat there, nobody. Can you imagine a kid with a roll of toilet paper and it's like, play? They don't do anything with it? Not even to see if it would stack up and, build a tower? I just thought, oh my gosh. So just know that you might have to do a little bit of helping, like, oh, gee, look what I can do. And then, and then they'll probably copy you, but then hopefully we'll do something else. Anyway, all right. Now there's no time for questions. Oh, we have one more minute. Did I see a question?
I don't have a question, I was just going to make an observation.
Yes.
That is, I mean, well, you kind of shared that sometimes you have to help a little bit, but open-ended play, it takes a lot less planning and preparation.
Oh,
And
yes.
On behalf of teachers and.
Yes. And how many times did I stay up late cutting out all those fish for that giant fish bowl on the wall, and people were really interested in the box that whatever came in that day. Yeah. Yes, I want to make your jobs a lot easier. The work is actually paying attention to where the children's development is. They've mastered that. I'm going to bring in some more of these things that will bring new elements into this equation, and then see what more learning can happen. That's the work, is just paying close attention. Okay, I think I'm done. Oh, wait. Let's see. Little message from Fred Rogers. I'll tell you one last story. I had the honor to go to a conference where Fred Rogers was the keynote speaker. It was in Toronto at the National Association of Education and Children Conference. And he had the whole room in tears. And I don't think I fully understood the story until just recently, when I think about the work that I'm doing. Oh, that one video didn't come through. Oh well. He told a story of a family who had a little boy and recently had a baby. And the little boy was maybe three or four. And the little boy was really obsessed with going in and looking at the baby when the baby was sleeping. And the parents didn't feel comfortable. They were worried that the baby might get hurt. And they came to Fred and said, no, I think they came to him. He said, just let him, just give it a try. So one night they saw the little boy sneaking into the baby's bedroom. And they're like, wait, let's just watch. We'll be there in case something happens. And the little boy looked over into the crib at his little baby brother and said, tell me what it's like. I'm beginning to forget. I know, right? I'm still trying to remember what it's like to be a kid and what we need to be given to these people. So, yeah. All right, thank you.